inside for Albert. Albert will get the score. Fiddler, his farewell. He captain to a legend and probably rugby league immortality. That's not a try, that's a miracle.
Guys, welcome back to the Rugby League Guru podcast. Straight after Origin Game 1, the New South Wales Blues getting it done 18 points to 12. We got 1-0 in the series. Suncorp in the rear view mirror. Very, very good to see. And look, guys, I'm on my own in here. I'm just riding the emotion off that win. You guys know how much Origin means to me. So I'm honestly, I'm fucking ecstatic with how that game played out. And just, 12-point win. I thought we were much, much better than that. We'll get into it all now, guys. I'll be going through my notes. I've got on my notepad here. I've got my laptop. I've got a lot to go through, and we'll talk about a lot of things, individual performances and whatnot, some Queenslanders that I thought had really good games as well, what it could mean for Game 2, et cetera, et cetera. A lot to get stuck into. But, guys, tonight's podcast, your live reaction, is brought to you by Neds. Jump onto the Neds app and follow along with all of our bets for the rest of the season, all the bets from About Even as well. Make sure you jump onto the Neds app and go and check them out. Okay. Let's talk State of Origin, Game 1, 18 points to 12. I want to start with the Bog, best on ground, Payne Haas. Now, we sat here with Sowie a few weeks ago and we spoke about our players that we thought would define this series. My player was Payne Haas. And, coming into this game, I probably didn't lean on it as heavily because he came in with the injury and whatnot. I wasn't sure how that was going to impact Payne Haas, but he was amazing tonight. That first stint was incredible. Obviously had a hand in the first try, managed to, get the good offload to Nathan Cleary to set up the first try. But I just thought the intensity he went with in that game, he was incredible, Payne Haas. You couldn't really ask for much more. We came out of that series last year and sort of said it feels like Payne Haas has arrived on the Origin stage, and he just went to another level this year. I'll be honest with you, I had concerns how the Blues were going to go this year off the back of having a guy like Michael Maguire who got so much out of them. But to Laurie Daly, Craig Bellamy, all the guys in that camp, that team was ready to rip and tear tonight, and it was led by Payne Haas. On the other side of the park, I thought Tino was sensational. I thought he was so good. And these two, we spoke about it on Bloke a little bit earlier this week, these two are just going to go head-to-head for the next 10 years or however long they're going to be around. They are just two absolute alphas who are just genetically different to any front rowers we have seen before. And they're going to lead these two forward packs into the future. And I cannot wait to watch how it unfolds. Tonight, Payne got one on Tino, but I'll tell you what, that performance by Tino, he's going to get plenty back on Payne in the future. So those two sensational, and Payne Haas, I really like to see them reward best on ground to a guy like Payne Haas. I think it's really good to see our forward pack rewarded. And you know what? Payne Haas, he'll have the medal around his neck, but I'm sure he'll walk back to his forwards. And I'm sure he'll say, hey, this is for us. So, I've got it around my neck, but this is for all of our forward pack because they were just so good. Mitch Barnett, he was sensational. I loved Liam Martin. It's just those little things he does, those little, the kick chase moments, the little grubby moments that he just brings to this team. I thought Max King, in the time he was on the field, I thought he was very good as well. Did some really good things. Max King, honestly, just hard to sort of pick and choose, find someone from New South Wales who wasn't great. I thought the big difference tonight, and we'll get to the halves in a moment and how good they were because I thought both of them were just so good. I thought Isaiah Yeo. Now, last year he sort of played as a middle forward instead of a link man, and Cam Murray was in the side. It made a huge difference. I love that Isaiah Yeo, he just picked his moments tonight. Honestly, I'd say perfectly. He ran at the right moments. He passed at the right times, but I think the vast majority of the time he ran the football. And I think it just blasted the middle away for Queensland. They just couldn't keep with us. And Isaiah Yeo, you have to give credit to him and Nathan Cleary because they've won 4 premierships in a row. They've done unbelievable things, and it hasn't quite translated to the New South Wales level, to the State of Origin arena. And Isaiah Yeo completely changed the way he went about it today. So, you could almost forgive Isaiah Yeo for going, hold on, I've been the best lock forward in the game for half a decade now. I know what I'm doing. Instead, he switches the game to suit the Origin arena, and he absolutely kills it. I thought he was fantastic tonight, Isaiah Yeo, and Payne Haas. Just a stellar performance, Payne Haas. I don't know if that's his first Best on Ground award, but I'll give you the hot tip. It won't be his last. Jeez, he was good, Payne Haas. Let's talk about the halves. First of all, I wanted Mitch Moses to be the halfback. I wanted Mitch Moses to be the halfback because he had gone to Brisbane and he had dominated. He had been in total control. He had had all the time in the world, and I thought Mitch Moses deserved that opportunity. The New South Wales Blues and a lot of you guys said, no, Nath Cleary can do the same. Give him the opportunity, pair him up with Mitch Moses, and I'll tell you what, egg all over my face. I thought Nathan Cleary was in total control in that game. From 20 minutes on, I felt completely different with Nath than I ever have before. And I know some of you think I've been too harsh on Nath in the future and whatnot, but mate, that was the game that we have been waiting for. That's the game I've been waiting for anyway. For the first time in Origin, I looked at that New South Wales Blues team and I said to myself, whose team is this? And there was no questions. It was Nathan Cleary's team. He was in total control the entire time. He was running the football. I thought his kicking game was really good. I think he had one poor kick to Val Holmes, but outside of that, I thought his kicking game was really good. I thought he just controlled the tempo. He threw a bad pass early to Mitch Moses that missed the mark. But I just love how he responded to that. And I think a previous Nathan Cleary, if he did that in Suncorp, it might have rattled him a little bit. It just didn't concern Nath whatsoever. He had that look in his eye tonight, like I've seen and like you've seen in every grand final for the last 4 years. I do feel like this is a turning point in the career of Nathan Cleary. And you know what? There's 2 games to go. The job is not done. And, you know, if he ends up playing poorly in the next 2 games, people will clip that up and whatnot and throw it back at me. But you know what? I've been the most critical guy of Nath over the last few years. I have always said I think eventually he will do it, but I've been critical of him in the Origin arena. I was critical of him this week, saying he has to perform here. I saw enough tonight to sit back in my chair and go, I think Nath Cleary's turned the corner. I think tonight at Suncorp, he did exactly what Mitch Moses did last year. He took total control. He had all the time in the world. I thought Nath Cleary looked tremendous, and I think tonight will be the night. And I know people say he's won series before, he's done that. This was the first time he has been the dominant ball player in this team, and he's taken full ownership of it. 2021, they won, sure. I've said before, that series was a complete outlier. It was the exception, not the example with the new rules. That tonight was Origin Football 101. That is what we know Origin football is. That is the sort of game that Nath has struggled to leave his mark on in the past. He absolutely dominated it tonight. And I'm talking attack, he was great. He ran the football, he took them on, he created opportunities. He created opportunities that sometimes his teammates weren't able to take advantage of. He kicked well, but I'll tell you what, I loved his defense. I thought he just defended so well, and I thought that Nath was better in attack. Mitch Moses had some nice moments, but I thought both of them in defense were tremendous. Mitch Moses, I thought his defense was so good. Nath was great too, but Mitch Moses in defense really stood out for me tonight. A guy that probably 7 or 8 years ago really struggled defensively, was getting targeted, was copping it a lot. I think it's the one thing in Mitch Moses, his attacking game and his confidence has improved so far. But, mate, it's his defense over the last few years that has just jumped out of the ground to me. It's been incredible. So both halves, they were fantastic. I thought this team had to belong to Mitch Moses because he's done it before. Nathan Cleary, he stood up and he did it tonight. And I've said before, I don't know when he's going to go to that next level. I think he went to that next level tonight. I think that Mitch Moses played his role really well with Nathan Cleary. I think he just fit in around him perfectly. Nathan Cleary had the hot hand, but I don't think it was the case of Nath Cleary had the hot hand, he got lucky tonight. I feel like Nath Cleary in the Origin arena came of age. And, you know, when you have, you know, we talk over the last few years and we always say, you know, halves, they tend to play their best footy, you know, that 27, 28, 29, 30. Nath Cleary has a year off Origin last year, comes in at 27 years of age when his club team's in absolute all sorts and puts on a performance like that. Just incredible. And the way that him and Isaiah Yeo, the way that they just adapted their game slightly to fit the Origin arena, I just thought it was fantastic. And whether that's just flat out, whether you want to put that straight to flat out coaching, whatever it might be, sure. I just think that those guys have taken it upon themselves to address what they've done wrong in the past. I think it would have been good for Nath to sit back and watch the way that Cam Murray and Mitch Moses played last year, and he just played off the back of it, and he was tremendous. So, you know, this might be clipped up in 2 weeks' time, and I could be wrong. And I've always sort of been on the other side with Nath Cleary. I'm on the side of I think he's turned the corner tonight. I think he just had that look in his eye that as a New South Welshman, I'm sitting here going, hold on, our man has arrived. Our man, Nathan Cleary, who could be the greatest footballer we've ever seen, has arrived on the biggest stage. And I'll tell you what, if I'm Queensland, if I'm Billy Slater, I'm probably sitting in those sheds going, that was a look in Nath Cleary's eye, and that was a determination I haven't really seen from Nath to that level, to be that confident in that arena in a game where both teams are going hammer and tong, that he was the guy on the field that had the most time with the football by far and away. DCE has done that to him so many times over the last few years. I feel like Nath Cleary, he just jumped onto that pedestal and said, yep, Origin, it's mine now. And we've been saying this for years, right? That Nath Cleary, he's got Origin series victories and they will stack up very quickly, and they have. He hasn't quite had those moments yet. And you know what? I thought in that game, he probably didn't have just the absolute moment, but he went up to Suncorp, game one, and he just dominated. He was in total control from start to finish. It was a completely different version of Nath Cleary compared to the guy we've seen in Origin previously, in my opinion. He's put on big games and they've won by 40 and all that. That was a game that, you know, it was a little bit closer than what the scoreline says, but that was a good Queensland side, and Nath just absolutely put him to the sword. So full credit to him, Nath Cleary. I had him as my 5'8". I thought Mitch had to be the 7. Laurie Daly and the Blues, and most of you guys out there have absolutely nailed it. I really feel like that's a coming-of-age moment for Nath Cleary there. Stephen Crichton came in under an injury cloud. Some of the things he did tonight, just tremendous. He is an absolute freak. That set up for the first try. Obviously, a Payne Haas run and offload to Nath, quick hands to Dill, then to leave Val Holmes for absolute dead. Almost stepped him in the air, beat him on the inside, and I think the commentator said it, the speed that he came off his right foot, it just left them in disarray. And then when you get in that moment where there's the cover defence coming along, you know, it's so easy to slide into that corner and run your winger out of space. The way that Critter just straightened up, he gave the defence no choice but to swarm him with the perfect pill out to Zach Lomax to score the first try. Just Stephen Crichton, we spoke about it a few weeks ago, and it's just the balance and how he does things that's so incredible. We spoke about a few weeks ago against Canberra how when he's at full pace, he's able to switch which hand he's holding the football with. It's just those little things that just separate Critter from the rest of the guys in this competition. The next try, Nathan Cleary and Mitch Moses combining on the left-hand side. And he didn't have an assortment of huge moments in this game, Latrell Mitchell, but he had one moment that he had to absolutely ice, and he just nailed it. Those quick hands to Brian To'o, split second. I'm pretty sure if you watch it again, his feet aren't even touching the ground in that moment, Trell. And, you know, he's big, he's damaging, but as we always say with Latrell Mitchell, the thing he's got that no one else has in the league is just these incredible hands. You know, he gets compared to GI. I said it during the week to Kat, like GI never had the hands that Latrell Mitchell has right now. I think it's the one thing that, you know, two guys that are going to get compared to each other, and it'll be interesting to compare them at the back end of their careers and whatnot. But those hands that Latrell's got, it's the one thing that I think he's got over GI. GI is still well and truly on top of Latrell. Yeah, there's not even a conversation about that yet. Latrell's chasing him. Whether he gets there or not, I don't know. GI is still the absolute king of centres. There's no denying that. But geez, just those little moments that Latrell can have. He had a poor moment later in the game. We'll talk about that in a moment. Nanai coming out, hitting him, turnover. But I think that sort of flicked a switch in Latrell, because after that he was very, very good. You know, his hit-ups, just doing good things. Zach Lomax. I don't know what his meters ended up for the game, but gee whiz, he is just an Origin player through and through. If you have a look at Zach Lomax, that catch that he took, the one hand in the air, you know, grabbing that one back in, just incredible. You know, just some very big moments tonight for Zach Lomax. I would imagine he ran for 200 metres. Yeah, 210 run metres off 25 runs, 75 post-contact. He had 2 line breaks. He was incredible. A daily double for Zach Lomax, a very, very good performance. I think he's only played one game in the last 8 weeks or whatever it might be. Just unbelievable performance by Zach Lomax. He is just made for the Origin arena. His wing partner, Brian To'o, get this. Brian To'o played 70 minutes of football in this game. He ran for 228 metres. Think how big Zach Lomax was in this game, how involved Zach Lomax was. He ran for 18 more metres than Zach Lomax in 10 less minutes on the field. You know, we've been saying this for a few years now that Brian To'o, he is not like any winger we've seen before. I've seen some of you in the comments go, Wendell used to do this, Matt Utide used to do this. No, they didn't. Not to the extent Brian To'o is doing it, and to how consistently Brian To'o is doing it. You're looking over in the NFL at the moment, running backs, they tend to have like a 2 and 3 year window where they're at their absolute prime, and then eventually it catches up on their body. This guy's been doing this for half a decade now, and he just keeps producing. And you know what he always does? He saves his biggest games for the biggest stages, grand finals and state of origins. He just consistently runs for 200 plus meters in origin. He's an absolute freak. And tonight, he did it in 70 minutes. He spent 10 minutes off the field. Absolutely incredible from Brian To'o. If he would have got man of the match despite a sin bin, I could have understood it, because what he did tonight was just unbelievable. 81 post-contact meters. That's 81 post-contact in 70 minutes of football. Unbelievable performance from Brian To'o. I've sort of got, Brett Morris is the greatest winger I've seen. Brian To'o, I think by the end of his career, he will be the greatest winger our game has ever seen. I've been saying it for a few years. The consistency that he's putting out there is just unbelievable. Brett Morris, incredibly consistent as well. There's no denying that. But To'o is doing what Morris was doing and taking it to a new level by literally changing the wing position and not saying, hey, you have to do 100 metres, 150 metres. No. The expectation is if you want to be the elite winger in this game, you need to run for 200 metres a game. And guess what? Teams aren't going to kick the football to you because they're going to try and keep it away from you. Those 200 metres, they're going to have to be rough and tough through the middle. 228 metres in 70 minutes of state of origin football. Just an absolute freak, Brian To'o. Incredible performance. Other guys I thought were good. I thought Max King off the bench was good. I thought Hudson Young had some good moments. He obviously had the offload that he tried to push early, but I just love that Hudson just went at this game like a wild dog. I love the way he went about it. I know he got ahead of himself with the offload. I know a lot of you out there don't like Hudson Young, don't think he deserves a position. I think you're morons personally, but I love the intent that he goes into the game with Hudson Young. He plays for blood, and I just absolutely love it. Even that play where he sort of got in the way of the Queenslanders when they were on the attack and he forced an error, he forced a forward pass just by being a pest and just showing effort on that play. He didn't play too many minutes, Hudson Young, but I thought he had a good impact in the minutes he was on, 26 minutes. Spencer Leniu in his minutes, he took him on. He did what he had to do, Spencer Leniu. I think as well, it's worth noting when he came on the field, he was there. Queensland could have kicked the ball to him and absolutely fucking given it to him. And they made a decision, no, we're going to kick to the other side. And Spencer was filthy about it. For me, I thought that was a big moment. And it might seem over the top, but I kind of look at that moment and go, geez, is that a moment in Origin history? This is Spencer Leniu. He comes on the field. You all fucking hate him. He's had the thing with Ezra Mam. You're playing in Ezra Mam's home stadium. He's had the thing with Jonathan Thurston, an Origin legend. I would have thought that Queensland would have looked at each other and gone, let's kick it down this motherfucker's throat and let's go at him. And they kicked the ball away from him. I'm keen to hear other thoughts on it and whatnot, but and you saw Spencer Leniu's reaction just going, what is this? It's Origin. I'm the number one villain up here. You've got an opportunity to whack me off the kickoff, and you chose to go in a different direction. I just thought psychologically there was just something in that moment that really stood out to me, because I'll tell you what, previous series, if we're in that situation, I feel like Queensland kick it to him every day of the week, and their forwards and Tino and those boys go, hey, we want an opportunity to put this fucker into the dirt. And I just feel like there was a switch in that moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if we look back in the history of Origin and we look at that moment and go, that meant something. That meant something. That Queenslanders have been waiting to get Spencer Leniu up to Suncorp again to absolutely give it to him. Calling out, giving it to a legend like Jonathan Thurston a few weeks ago. You've been waiting X amount of weeks to get him up there. He hasn't been in good form in clubland. He finally gets on the field. Queensland need to lift, and they kick the ball away from him. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it, but as a New South Wales fan, that meant something to me because it didn't feel like something that a Queensland side would usually do. Normally, their biggest dogs in their team would go, put it down his throat, we want him. They went away from him, which I just thought that was a big moment in the context of Origin. Liam Martin. He was great again. Once again, I'm sure his stats don't absolutely, scream from the rooftops, but that's who Liam Martin is. Look at that. 5 runs, 38 metres. Now, 15 post-contact. Absolutely nothing doing on the stat sheet, but it was just the little defensive efforts. It was the kick chase that Liam Martin had all night. Another good game by him. Angus Crichton, so good. 17 runs, 154 run metres. Missed a few tackles, to be fair, Angus Crichton. I think a lot of them were shooting out to really put pressure on. Such a good performance by the New South Wales Blues. I could go through each and every one of them and talk about these guys. I kind of already have, to be honest with you. I don't think we had a bad player. When Connor Watson came on the field, he dropped a ball off Nathan Cleary. He created another opportunity, but then he had a huge hand in that last try that we scored, the pop back up to Dylan Edwards. And that moment there was another one for me where you sort of went, okay, Queensland are defending for their life here. It's last tackle. He's going to do anything he can just to get that ball away. Because what have New South Wales got to lose? How Connor Watson got that ball away, I don't know. And it says a lot about Connor Watson, but I think it just says a lot about the intent of Queensland at that moment, defending for their life, and they just let it slip at the last second there. And Dylan Edwards just put himself in the right spot again. Dylan Edwards, probably the one I didn't talk about at all. He had a hand in the first try. What did he run for? Yeah, 121 metres, so probably a little bit quiet by his standard. 1 line break, 1 try assist, scored 1 himself, 5 tackle breaks. Nathan Cleary had 10 tackle breaks tonight. Tell me that's not a dude that just feels like he's in total control and is just watching the game in slow motion. Just incredible to see. I absolutely love that. Yeah, look, the New South Wales Blues, huge performance. Just going through my notes that I wrote during the game here. We spoke about Isaiah Yeo. The way that he just went forward in this game, that was sensational. We spoke about the halves there. Zach Lomax in the air, very good. The Brian To'o sin bin, let's talk about it. Okay, for me, and this is what I do hate this about the game at the moment. I've said this a few times on the podcast, but you don't want to carry on with it every week. But like the aerial contests are just fucked at the moment. It is what it is. They're awful. When two guys jump in the air and take each other on like these two did, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose. In that context, Xavier Coates, he won it for sure. Is it a professional foul that Brian To'o does that? I personally don't think it is. What's Brian To'o meant to do in that moment? He's sky high, he's off balance. I think it's a natural reaction to sort of grab onto someone. By the book, it's a penalty. And you know what? I personally think that is a sin bin every day of the week in the NRL. I don't agree with it, but it is a sin bin every day of the week. So I can sort of accept it if for the sake of consistency. I hate the call, but I think they're looking at that a little bit too black and white. They're not adding common sense to that decision. They're not adding feel for the game for that decision. But once again, I think I'd rather just know, okay, if that happens, it is a sin bin. Because if that happens at the other end of the field and Zach Lomax goes up and it's Val Holmes that does the exact same thing, I go, okay, every other game of the season, that is an automatic sin bin. So as much as I think the call is wrong, I do not like the call. I at least appreciate that there is consistency in the call. Doesn't mean I think they got it right. I think it's wrong. I think it's shit. I think it'd be shit if it was to Queensland as well. I think it's crap when it happens every single week throughout the NRL season when a guy loses a contact and they say he tackled him in the air. Sometimes you just lose contacts in the air. Sometimes two guys go all in and one comes up with a winner. In that moment, it was Xavier Coates. I thought sin bin was harsh, but it was consistent based on what they've done over the last few years, which I don't like. So read into that what you will. I think by the book and by the way that we have been refereeing over the last few years, the call was right. But I don't think anyone genuinely thinks that is a sin bin when two guys go for a contest and one wins the contest and one loses. He's not just going to disappear when he's 4 foot in the air as he's falling. It's a natural reaction. Your hands are already up there. I'm okay with the call because it is consistency. And once again, if the shoe was on the other foot for me and it was Zach Lomax, I would want the Queensland player to be sin binned so I can make sense of it. I do think for New South Wales, it worked out really well in that moment when the sin bin happened because it meant that you got to go into half time and you got to sit down with the team and say, okay, we're going to be without Brian To'o for 10 minutes. Take your breaths in, get yourself fresh, mentally prepare for this 10 minutes where this game could be decided. And it allowed them to make changes. They moved Zach Lomax out to the wing. It allowed them to adjust. And it's in that moment straight away where, your natural reaction is we're going to be down a player in Origin, the best of the best. And I went, yeah, okay. But as soon as I heard Laurie Daly say we've moved Zach Lomax to that side, I went, okay, that means Stephen Crichton's going to control his side. We'll be okay. I knew we'd be okay immediately because I knew that, Critter and Lomax, they'd be able to make it work. And we did concede a try during that period. Obviously, a Latrell error, Xavier Coates ended up scoring. But I think if you're ever going to get sin binned, the last play of the first half, I think it's the perfect time to happen because you have half time to prepare. If it happens in the 20th minute, it's just think of it on the fly. Trainer runs out, gives you a message. You're trying to work it out. It's all very frantic. The Blues got to come in, sit down and go, okay, this is our situation. We're down a player for 10 minutes. How are we going to make this work? What's going to be our game plan? And it gives those guys an opportunity to get ready for that. I thought they handled it really, really well. Yeah, look, a great performance by the New South Wales Blues. And, you know, like maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I thought we were much better than what the scoreline showed tonight. Obviously, goal kicks, we couldn't buy conversion. That was bizarre. I've never seen anything like that from two very good goal kickers in Nathan Cleary and Zach Lomax as well. Pretty much missed from in front, which was wild. But to win by 12 points when we didn't kick a goal all night, absolutely enormous by the New South Wales Blues. I think I've gone through and given just about everyone a wrap that I possibly can. I really didn't think there was too many negatives from that game. If I want to nitpick negatives, the Mitch Moses kick to start the second half, where he was 30 metres out, had to put up a bomb and he landed it in the in-goals. Very, very poor from Mitch. I expect a lot more out of Mitch as, you know, the number one guy that compliments Mitch, and I say I want him to be in control of the game. When they were down a player and they just had to complete their sets and keep the ball down there, I thought that was a very, very poor play. It was interesting though. Joey did make the call at one point to Freddie, can you go and check the balls? Because the conversions are coming off wonky and some of the general play kicks are coming off very wonky and just weird as well. So I'd like to see if there is anything more to that. But that's not making an excuse. Mitch Moses has to get that kick right in that moment. But that's sort of nitpicking moments in this game that maybe we could have done a little bit better. I'll tell you, like, there was two moments in this game that really stood out to me. The first one, as I said, not kicking a Spencer Leniu. I thought that was a mentality win for the New South Wales Blues immediately, and I think that took a lot away from that. The other moment was early in the game. Harry Grant's kick out of dummy half. Now, I believe DCE got tackled on that play. Munster was over to the left because after he was blowing up Cam Munster going, why didn't I get the fucking football? I've never seen Harry Grant. And I've watched a lot of Harry Grant. I was watching him play, you know, Queensland Cup and the juniors when he was coming through. Loved him from back then. I've never seen him put in a kick like that in a game. And unless I'm forgetting it at some point over the last years, which I'm happy to hear from you guys, that was a bizarre little moment. And I thought it was very evident then that they were trying to get Xavier Coates on Brian Toto as they should. But I just thought Harry Grant, that was a very poor decision. I thought Harry Grant was pretty poor tonight as a whole. I thought it probably was his worst Origin. I'm racking my brain right now to think if he's had worse ones, but I thought tonight was pretty poor by Harry Grant. I thought that he really let the Blues off the hook with that poorly measured kick, and I just don't think it was his role to do that. That ball had to go to Cam Munster. You want to try and get at Brian Toto with Xavier Coates, and I get that, but you've got to pick your right moments to do it. And kicking out a dummy half like that, I don't think that's something that Harry Grant's practiced much, and if he does, he doesn't execute it much in games. I just thought that was a really poor decision by the game's best hooker. That ball had to go to Cameron Munster in that moment, and that for me was a moment where I went, okay, they've obviously addressed during the week Xavier Coates and Brian Toto, they can get an advantage there. And it kind of felt like the Queenslanders saying to me, oh, we're not sure how we're going. We're on the back foot. Let's just try and get this advantage that we've got. I don't know. Once again, it was just one of those mentality things that I went, I don't think that's how that was meant to play out. I don't think that was how you guys had it planned. I think you could tell by Cam Munster's reaction, it was definitely not what they had planned. I think Harry Grant panicked in that moment, knew they were trying to get to Brian Toto throughout the game and just picked the wrong moment to do it. And it turned out to be costly. We came up the other end. As far as the Queensland Maroons goes, I've already sort of mentioned him, but geez, I thought Tino was unbelievable tonight. Such a good performance from him. Him and Payne Haas are going to go toe-to-toe for the foreseeable future, and I can't wait to watch how it all plays out. Just two absolute animals. I thought Mo Fodawaker, geez, I'm surprised he only ran for 40 metres. He had a couple of good runs in there, but it must have been just those runs alone there. That's wild. But I thought some of his runs were good. He had a few errors in there, though, that weren't great. I thought that Tino was fantastic, as I said. Nanai, a bit of a mixed bag. Defensively sort of struggled a little bit at parts, but he did come up with the big shot on Latrell Mitchell that led to their first try. And I guess just back to the Blues again quickly, the thing that I love is that, you know, we scored 4 tries. The only try we conceded was of a turnover and just quick hands by the Queenslanders. So it was the only time they scored was via a counter-attack. Like it doesn't get much better than that for a New South Wales team defensively going to Suncorp Stadium. That the only time Queensland's able to score is off a counter-attack, which was just smart footy off an error. Really good by Nanai. You know, I think it would have been if Queensland would have ended up winning this game, funnily enough, it would have been the thing that everyone was so worried about was Nanai's defence, that he came up and made a big play. A huge moment there for Xavier Coates to score. You sort of, as a New South Welshman, I got a little bit nervous up there at Suncorp. You felt a bit of a shift. But once again, even when there was a shift, I wasn't looking at this New South Wales team the same way I've looked at New South Wales teams previously, going, oh, fuck, just hold on, just get to the end of the game. I just thought, Blues, just just play your natural game because we've got their number at the moment. I think they knew they had their number. There wasn't that normal panic that you see in Blues side previously in Sydney, let alone up there in Brisbane. So forwards, I thought Pat Carrigan was good as well. I thought the decision to not start Bo Fermor was interesting. I thought it was even wilder to not put him on until like the 63rd minute. I thought Bo could have provided a little bit of spark a little bit earlier in the game. I know that he's obviously new to the Origin arena, but I just thought I would have got him on the field a little bit earlier. I thought DCE probably looked a yard slow tonight. And, so he should. He is a lot older. It'll be interesting to see what they do here. I think that DCE has done enough in the Queensland jersey previously to play on for the series. But if I'm completely honest, when you stack up, his Manly form and everything that's gone on this season into that performance and the way that New South Wales just picked him out defensively, I do wonder if you maybe look in another direction. Could bringing Tom Dearden in at halfback be the better play? Could a guy like Jamal Fogarty with his kicking game and whatnot, could he be an option? It'd be an enormous call by Billy Slater to get rid of the Queensland captain after game one of this series. I don't think he'll do it. But, mate, Daly, he did just look a yard slow, as he has for the last few weeks for the Manly Seagulls. So it might be one of those big moments where Billy Slater makes one of those big calls with the series on the line going to Perth. Is it maybe time that you unleash Tom Dearden at halfback and let him go? Is it potentially that DCE's time is over? I don't think he'll do it, but I'll tell you what, I think it's a bit of a conversation to be had. Outside of that, I thought we defended Hamiso incredibly well. I want to give Rob Toyer a big shout out. I don't know what his stats look like. 9 runs for 63 metres. I thought he took some good carries in there. I thought defensively he was very good. 24 tackles. He missed 3 tackles. But if you have a look at the rest of the Queensland backline, Xavier Coates made 5 tackles. Hamiso made 7 tackles. So Hamiso made 7. Rob Toyer made 24. That's how much traffic they sent at Rob Toyer. He was forced to do an absolute stack of work. Nanai, he made 34 tackles out there. I thought that Rob Toyer really held his own. He had some nice hands early in the game to create a little bit of an overlap. And I just thought throughout the game he did some good things. I think he showed himself more than worthy of being in the Origin arena in that game. And you know what? The Blues killed it. Latrell Mitchell had one good moment in this. Outside of that, Latrell was kept pretty quiet. Pretty quiet, Latrell Mitchell, in this game, realistically. I'm just having a look at his stats here. 3 tackle breaks. I thought that Rob Toyer did a really good job on him. So credit to Rob Toyer. A Maroons debut that won't be remembered as one of the greats or anything, but I personally thought with a pretty tough task in front of him, I thought he well and truly held his own in this game. You had, obviously, I thought KP looked threatening at a lot of times, and there was a couple of moments I thought he was going to break this game open, but it just never quite came. Still ran for 160-odd metres and whatnot, but the opportunity just didn't quite present itself for Kalen. I thought he sniffed around enough to give himself chances at it. But I also thought the Blues cover defense was just sensational. The way they defended for each other was enormous. There was just jerseys coming from everywhere. There was a moment there where Stephen Crichton got, I think it was Val Holmes one-on-one. It was on the tram line, just held him up. And all of a sudden, just 9 Blues jerseys appeared out of nowhere, dragged him over the sideline. There was a couple of moments in this game like that I look back on that I just go, there was just a mentality difference in these two sides in this game that I don't think is reflected on the scoreboard. Outside of that, how many minutes did Lindsay Collins play? 31 minutes, 79 metres. Outside of Carrigan and Tino, they really struggled for metres in this game. Xavier Coates ran for 170, to be fair. But the New South Wales Blues just dominant. When it comes to game 2, if you're the Blues, you don't even consider making any changes. And you know what? Credit to Laurie Daly, Craig Bellamy, the team up there. They've copped a lot of shit this week that, if they go up to Suncorp and they get bashed through the middle, they should have picked Terrell May. They didn't. And look at what they've produced there, yeah? They nailed all their picks. They all played well. They picked the 2 halfbacks. It was a bit of a gamble. It's paid dividends. It's been fantastic. And there's been no drama in camp this week. There's been no shit going on. They've had injuries to deal with. Queensland, for the first time ever, didn't have a bug go through their camp. The New South Wales Blues had to make sure Payne Haas was sweet. They then had to make sure Stephen Crichton was sweet. and they just handled it like total professionals, went up there to Suncorp, no distractions, no crap. They had 17 guys that brought into what they wanted to do and bit down on their mouth guards and played tough. Unreal to see by the New South Wales Blues. As a New South Welshman, I am so proud. And I do feel like that tonight will be the turning point in Nathan Cleary's career, his Origin career. I really do. And that's coming from the guy that's probably been more critical than anyone of him over the last few years and asked more questions about him. Hasn't been afraid to stand up and say, what the fuck is going on here? Tonight, Nath put egg all over my face, and I'm so happy to see it. I feel like Nathan Cleary, the Origin player, has officially arrived in the Origin arena, and I'm so excited about it. I cannot wait for Game 2 over there in Perth. That one's going to be a cracker. I'm keen to see how the Queenslanders respond, what Billy Slater does on the team sheet, if he does make any changes, what he does there. Very, very interesting, and it could be. I do feel like this game, going up there to Suncorp, Game 1, it's 2 games in a row we've won at Suncorp. For most of my, before, once Freddie and Joey went, it was sort of like, fuck, I just don't know if we can win at Suncorp realistically. And we've done it a few times over the last few years. And I think that decider last year where we did it, and then we go there with Nath this year and Isaiah, those Penrith boys that don't work in Origin, they adapted their game and they absolutely dominated. And I think the beauty of tonight is that the Blues and Nath and Isaiah in particular, the blueprint is there. That's what you need to do. You need to go forward. No more of this lateral stuff. You need to go forward. And to be honest with you, our pack is simply too good for theirs. On paper, it's too good. And out there on the turf of Suncorp Stadium, it was simply too good. Our game plan is there heading into the future. We play north and south. We don't play lateral. We don't play Panthers footy. We play New South Wales Blues footy where we kick the fucking door in. Our halves run and they just take each other on. We use our aerial guys, Zach Lomax and whatnot on last tackle. We get early ball to Trell and to Critter. And when one half runs, the other one goes as well. I love the way that both of our Blues halves took off at different points tonight, and they just had Queensland in 2 minds the entire game. Like Mitch Moses, he had 6 runs, 37 metres, but he had decisive runs at certain moments. Nathan Cleary ran for 137 run metres, 20 runs in this game. Our Blues, our halves were just in total control, and it is so good to see. Congratulations to Laurie Daly. If you're not on YouTube, I'm holding Laurie Daly's book here, and I looked at it this afternoon and I thought, what an omen this is. Laurie Daly, that's his book. The title of the book is Always a Winner. Laurie Daly with David Middleton. Funnily enough, the guru that wrote this book with him 30-odd years ago. Laurie Daly, a successful return back to the Origin arena. I think Craig Bellamy would have played a decent role in it, but everyone brought in for New South Wales. Everyone was a part of it. Everyone played their role. And as I said, I personally think this is going to be a bit of a turning point in New South Wales Origin football, especially for our number 7 tonight, Nathan Cleary. I feel like he has finally arrived in the Origin arena in the next few years. I think it could be the Nathan Cleary years that we look back on and go, he's had a few of those moments over the next few years where he knows he belongs in this arena. And not only does he belong, he knows he's too good for this arena. I think you're going to start to see that Penrith arrogance that he has at times, which I fucking love at Clubland, come through in the Origin football. And it's a scary time for the Queensland Maroons. Guys, tonight's live reaction brought to you by Neds. Jump on to the app, follow along with our bets for the rest of the season, all the about even bets and all that good stuff, especially Game 2 in Perth. There'll be plenty of markets getting around there, plenty of try scorers and whatnot. So make sure you jump onto the Neds app and follow along with us there, copying all our bets and doing all the good stuff there. Odds subject to change. T's and C's apply and available on the Neds website. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website